Right, guys. What is it? A Tuesday morning. It's about 9:45. Overcast, a little bit chilly. Expect that in late April. Started having the open fires at home in the lounge. Very cosy. Just past another dead kangaroo. It's a road of death around here with wildlife that's been killed by cars. I've hit 2 kangaroos in 10 years, and both of them have been fairly recently, actually. Both of them I was going really slowly. They bounced off me. But anyway, so today we're off to Mildura, about a 4-hour drive from where I live. Excuse me. Stay overnight at the Mildura Golf Club Resort. I didn't bring the clubs. And but there is something of interest for us in Mildura, which I'll be documenting. You know it's going to be a Boer War memorial, don't you? Well, it's been on my list for a long time. Yeah, we'll get that done. Probably show you guys around the room. Tonight we'll look at the attractions of Mildura, which to my mind involve avoiding being mugged, attacked, robbed, beaten up. So I certainly won't be perusing any of the nightlife, but it's a Tuesday in Mildura. There can't be much going on. It'll be warmer up there than it is here. It's right up in the corner of Victoria, up towards the border of South Australia and New South Wales. A lot warmer than here, right up on the Murray. Been there once or twice, I think. This ill-fated pig shooting trip once with a couple of friends when I bought the Suzuki. It was brand new. We went up to a place called Houston. Right, thick red dust. There also used to go up to a national park up there, the Sunset Murray National Park, which is like the little desert. It's real deserty. Used to go forward driving up there, had great times. It was always hot and dry. So yeah, so we're just spending the one night in Mildura, and then tomorrow morning we're making our way to Renmark on the trail of the Breaker, where the Breaker ran to when he was trying to avoid paying bills. I think he tried to hide out in Renmark for a while. Then it was just his fortune that the Boer War was calling. Alright, I'll get some music happening now, and I'll do a bit of filming before we get into Mildura, as I normally do, and do a reading from the war with Johnny Boer. You'll be able to see the landscape as we approach Mildura. Quite different than sort of. Action. 23rd to the 28th of November, 1900. Accounts of the activities of the A Battery, New South Wales Artillery, are rare, so it is on this occasion we must depend upon an Englishman for a record of the battery's involvement in a sharp little action with the Boers. The account was contained in a letter by Dr. E.W.P. Ellis, in a letter to his mother from Vryburg, dated the 2nd of December 1900, quote, "A wire came down from Tuesday, the 20th November 1900, requesting me to take medical command of the Schweizer Reneke relief column, a very small force. We were to take out a month's supply to Schweizer Reneke, relieve the garrison, and put a fresh one in. The whole under the command of Colonel Milne. Our little force consisted of the following: Imperial Yeomanry, 3rd King's Rifles, 200 men, 2 companies of the 2nd Welsh Fusiliers, Denizens Scouts, a detachment of Royal Australian Artillery, with 1 15-pounder under Acting Captain Edward Augustus Anthill, plus the half squadron of Australian bushmen under Lieutenant C.M. Macpherson, E Company, New South Wales Imperial Bushmen. Our total force, including myself and the servant and my 2 orderlies, was certainly not more than about 450. Our ox and mule transport numbered about 30 wagons drawn by 30 span of oxen and mules, and the other transport was ammunition, etc. We left Freiburg at dawn on Thursday morning, the 22nd of November. I had 1 ambulance drawn by a span of 8 mules. I'd spent all the previous night equipping it with medicines and surgical appliances, etc. We marched to O'Reilly's Pan and entered the Transvaal. We bivouacked at the Pan and marched on for the usual hour next morning as far as Hannay's farm. Now the enemy began to snipe at us, and we pushed on under fire to Detroit's Kop. Large bodies of the enemy came up on our right flank, and we shelled them vigorously. At 3 p.m. our advanced scouts returned at breakneck speed to say that 600 or 700 Boers were in occupation of the pass, through which we were going towards Hart's Valley. At once the order was given to make a turning movement to the left, so to avoid the Kop, not a minute too soon. Had we gone straight on, the whole of us would have been shot down and not a man of us left to tell the tale. Milne saw his chance and took it. The Boers were in great force and had entrenched the whole Kop. As it was, we came in for rain of lead for about 1.5 hours. We saved the convoy by pushing it on ahead under a ridge. Then we shelled and drove the Boers from another kopje in front of us and got our transport shelter. Now we had to drive the Boers back or all was lost. The Boers made a rush down the kopje, and Sergeant Major Staines of Denison's scouts was badly wounded within 100 yards of the Boer trenches. A scout came and asked me to go to him, and I went, taking the ambulance with me as to what was considered a safe spot. It was, however, perfect hell. The Boers came up and deliberately made an attack on the ambulance. A concentrated fire was poured in on it, and I saw if it remained, every one of the occupants would be shot, so I took a whip and slashed drivers and mules and sent the ambulance out of range. Then I returned and dug my spurs into my horse and dashed down again, seized the wounded man, dressed him and put him on my saddle. No sooner had I done that than they fired again, so I took him off and lay on the ground by his side for 20 minutes. Then I had another go, put him on my horse and dashed out of that awful valley to where I had left the ambulance. Put my patient in and lashed the mules onto our lines. Arriving there, I brought the ambulance to the rear of our men, who were laying down in extended order and firing at the Kop. That was all right, but suddenly about 300 Boers crossed our rear and occupied the kopjes on our left. Our rear became our front, and I was in a terrible position between a crossfire. To make matters still worse, one of the wheels of my ambulance came off. The bullets rained around, and I began to think everything was lost. I tried to find the wheel, but the firing was too hot. I got the ambulance through and made it to go a distance of nearly a mile out of range on 3 wheels. I got my wounded temporarily housed. The Boers were driven off with considerable loss. The following morning, some Boers, about 300, were seen trekking westwards, so our gun on the kopje opened fire of them, but they were out of range. We left Schweitzer-Reneke about 4 p.m. on Monday morning, and for the first 10 miles we were only slightly sniped at. We returned by quite another route and encamped for the night at a small salt pan, though not before we had to drive a strong party of Boers off. That night we captured some 2,500 sheep and 800 head of cattle. Next day we marched out in the direction of Hannay's farm and were in contact with the Boers all the way. Our flank of scouts exchanging shots every few minutes. At Hannay's farm a small engagement took place and shelling for a time was tremendous. We located a party of Boers on a kopje on our left, and our mounted men attacked the Boers in skirmishing order, but the Boers tenaciously stuck to the kopje, and at last we drove them up to the top, and then unfortunately we lost 2 men killed and 4 men wounded. We left Hannay's farm almost immediately. I can't describe in detail what followed, but we fought inch by inch until 7 o'clock at night. The Boers had entrenched positions the whole way at every available point. They made 3 rushes and 2 ambuscades, and for about 3 or 4 hours the noise from our heavy gun and the double crack, volley after volley, of the Mauser and the volley firing of our own men made a pretty concert. We were cornered, the enemy on 3 sides of us, but Colonel Milne proved equal to the occasion. He drew the convoy off on our right flank and we covered its retreat, the whole of the mounted troops and infantry and heavy gun engaging the enemy at the same time. Ultimately, one splendid dash and we got the convoy to a safe position in a salt pan. The Boers came up to within 1,000 yards and then retired. The sun just set. We had a council of war. The colonel considered we were in the most critical condition. He dispatched 4 runners in different directions to Vryburg. 2 got in. At once the town guard was turned out. The whole garrison stood to arms. A strong force of mounted troops, luckily, was passing through to De Aar. The train was stopped and a strong mounted force with 4 cannon, 2 15-pounders, dispatched at full speed to our relief. The Boers cleared. Weary, worn, tired, hungry, we arrived at Vryburg at 4 p.m.
Okay, so we're here at the Mildura Golf Resort. My speedo says I've done 443 kilometres since leaving home. It's now 4 o'clock. I left home about 9:45, so a couple of stops at the various thrift stores, or op shops we call them. I got Brian a doona cover, quilt cover for $4. I did get a country pie and a chicken and salad roll at Sea Lake it was. So I'm in number 4, so I'll show you when we get in what it looks like. But that's pretty good, $108 for the night. That's very good. Right, I don't get a discount on drinks, but that doesn't apply to me. Okay, so very basic room for 108, but as I'm only here for the night, I don't see that's an issue. Right, it's chocolate and vanilla themed to my mind. What I'm noticing straight up is a sincere lack of PowerPoints. There is that one for the oops, what have I done? For the microwave. I could use that. Plenty of coffee, good sized mugs. I was thinking I might have to go and buy mugs. But yeah, this is it for the night. Yeah, hi guys, good morning from your old Gorbanir, Jerry Carter. Quite a rough night actually. The pillow arrangement, the configuration of the pillows in the motel, which is a cheap motel to be fair, it left a lot to be desired. In the Indian food, which came with high expectations. I mean, for a Tuesday night I thought there'd be nothing open takeaway wise in Mildura. Sleepy old Mildura, how wrong could I be? It was just bustling down there. There was outdoor dining, there was people wandering around, palm trees had fluoro lights on them. There was 2 restaurants, Indian restaurants, just on the one strip I went to. I went to the one recommended. I went for your chicken jalfrezi, which I specified spicy. It wasn't spicy at all. In fact, it had very little flavour. I went the 2 garlic naans, cucumber raita, which wasn't in the bag. They forgot that, rice, and yeah, no, it was pretty average. You know, like the naan in the jalfrezi sauce was okay. It was quite nice, I suppose. But yeah, the jalfrezi had very little flavour, certainly no heat to it. So, but that doesn't matter. I enjoy Indian food no matter what. So a bit of confusion today. I've had written down about this monument in Mildura for years, and even been looking at getting trains up here, and buses are so bloody far from anywhere. But when I got here and I'm Googling and I'm looking on my laptop, well, another thing is that the connection in the motel room kept dropping out all the time. But even on my phone, like that, I can't find any what I had in mind, which was like a fountain and, you know, a proper Boer War monument. They've only got this sort of park where they have all the other plinths and memorials to Korea, Vietnam, World War One, Two, and there is a little obelisk with brand new writing remembering the guys from the Boer War, but it's nothing like I thought. So I don't know what's happened. I've spoken to Brian back home. He found my scribble sheets when I went through Monuments Australia, or Monuments Victoria actually. I wrote down, hand wrote all the monuments in Victoria to do with the Boer War, and I've been highlighting them as I ticked them off. And he found the piece of paper, and I've got an address on there for Deakin Avenue, but it looks like a club. But when I look on my phone, it looks like housing. So maybe the club's moved. It looks like brand new housing estate. Maybe the club moved. But anyway, I'll show you guys what I can. We'll go to the town hall. I did see a big fountain near the town hall. We'll go and have a look at that. And maybe I'll just bluff my way through it and tell you guys that it's a Boer War fountain, when in fact it's just a fountain. But anyway, the sun is out. It's nice and shiny. It's a hive of activity here at the Mildura Golf Resort. I can recommend it. Room is sufficient and a good price. Lots of guys getting their clubs out, nice and shiny. Sets of clubs, Slazengers and Titleys balls and buggies. These guys all ride the motorised buggies now. The walking isn't as prevalent in golf as it used to be. Anyway, so hive activity here. The sun's out. I'm going to go and have a look around town, see if I can find anything to show you guys. All right. Thanks for staying. And carbineers, saddle up, mount the horses, ride out. Well, I promised you guys monuments, and by God, you're going to get them. I've seen this one. It's actually on Deakin Avenue, which I'd written down. But I don't think it's anything that I'm into. But it is a monument. It looks old. This is a main road out of Mildura. What's this about? Sun's in my eyes. I think it's World War One. Yeah, the Great War. Okay. It's a nice one, isn't it? It's mournfully waiting at the base of the cross. Maybe for the soldier that never returned. I like the way she got her hands crossed. And also like the lay and the fold of her outfit. Anyway, I thought I'd show you guys the town hall, and there is a beautiful fountain there. Now, I reckon there's probably a club along here, maybe a return services club, and it might have in there. There's a man's name I've written on the piece of paper. I might have a memorial or a plaque to a particular man in their club. Okay, so back on Deakin Avenue, which turns out to be the main road of Mildura. And I've always gone with the mantra that your Boer War monuments are going to be closest to your earliest important buildings. So with that in mind, I've come to what must have been the Mildura Town Hall, but I don't think it is anymore because it looks kind of small, and I don't know. But there is a couple of monuments that we'll look at, and a nice fountain, all the rosemary, very important for Anzac Day. Here's our rosemary. Here's an explorer maybe. He's got his binoculars. Chaffee. Alright, a Union man. Right on, comrade. They grow a lot of fruit up here, so he must have organised labour for the fruit industry. He laboured for the common good. Surprised he's got binoculars in. Chaffee, 1929 of Chaffee. Okay. There's a pavilion. Music pavilion. I am making my way to a now that I think is the old town hall. Actually on the clock tower it says "Honour thy king." Okay. But I don't think it is a town hall now. Well, it didn't even show up when I did a search of town hall. It didn't show up. I'll go back to the main strip here. I like you've got all your Australian natives growing along the strip. Very nice. Quite a tropical climate. In Mildura it gets stinking freaking hot in summer. My God, you'd hate to be up here. Mid-40s wouldn't be uncommon in Mildura. Right, well, I'm seeing the fountain I wanted to show you guys. And I think the club that I wrote down is along here. I noticed it last night on the way back from the Indian pickup that there was a sort of returned soldiers club. I reckon somewhere in there you could find the man's plaque or something that I've got written down, but you know, you go in at night, they're kids that serve coffee and wait tables, they're not going to know any of that stuff. Is my experience. Anyway, we'll have a look at the fountain. There is something quite interesting down by the railway station. Ooh, Chinese barbecue over there. Should have gone there, I reckon. Anyway, might go down to the train station. It was like an old dilapidated goods shed. Looks real interesting. Might have a look at that for Brian. He's into trains and rail infrastructure. And then we'll make our way over to Renmark. Let's have a look at this fountain. All intents and purposes, it could be a Boer War fountain. Tell you what, if you want to see a good Boer War fountain, have a look at the episode on Ararat. When I went to Ararat, they had a fantastic fountain for the boys. We got something similar to this in Bendigo. Looks like the ducks have been in here. Ducks have been into it. Yeah, we got one in Bendigo, better than this though. But this is impressive. Okay. Just near the town hall. Well, that's oh, actually, it says along the benches erected by the citizens of Mildura to perpetuate the memory of the reign of His Majesty King George V, who died on January the 20th, 1936. You always remember Dad talking about his son who came to the throne, the one who stuttered. How listening to the poor guy on the radio as he's trying to fight his stutter was excruciating for the citizens of the realm. I think he overcame the stutter with the help of an Australian, actually. Anyway, glorious morning here. Not a cloud in the sky. It's always good to be on the road, isn't it? I'll get out of Mildura, get back on the open freeway towards Renmark, cross the border into South Australia. Alright, talk to you soon. Thought I'd show this to you guys because we're a bit short on content. But I noticed it when I was coming to pick up the food last night. It's a big complex. We're at the railway line, so I think it's like a goods shed. Look at all the sort of wood panelling on it, the slats. What's going on? Maybe because there's a little bridge there, like it's not used anymore, obviously. There's all the bits of the roof coming off. Maybe it's like a workshop for them. There seems to be like a platform they stood on, but look at it, it's huge, right? It looks like they stood on this. Maybe they washed the trains in here or something. Real old, falling apart. And then I think maybe because there's this little bridge, maybe they brought the train here to spray it and clean it under the carriage, and maybe they cleaned the roof in that other. I'll turn around. It does have the circular action. Maybe this is where they turn the steam trains around. It has that circular look about it. Okay. Yeah. I think that's where they might have turned the train around. And then what they did in there, I really don't know. But yeah, it's interesting, hey?